Hey there, Stencil fans. This is Kari from StudioR12 Stencils. I got her. I didn't mean to get her. I'm Kari.
Morgan.
This is Morgan. Sorry.
We didn't
practice.
Yeah.
We didn't practice. And I think that I always have it in my head that when we do a Saturday video, it's just always, hey, this is Kari from StudioR12 Stencils. And it just comes out. It just rolls off the tongue. And
well, I tried to butt in and say, and this is Morgan, but anyway.
Anyway, so welcome. Happy Tuesday. We are live today on Facebook, YouTube and Twitch. So we have a new Twitch account, and we are going to, when we do lives and some other times, if we have some long form projects that we're going to be working on, we will be over on Twitch as well. We just started that today, so we are testing it out to see how it goes.
So we have like 3 screens going on right now.
So someone was concerned recently that I only had 1 screen.
Yeah.
And now we have 2 so that we can do all of the things and comment on all of the channels and talk to all of our folks at once. So today is, what's today? April?
Yeah. Can you guys hear us? Someone said no sound.
Let's try this. Let me see here. On where are they that they're saying there's no sound? On Facebook?
Yeah.
Let's see here. I actually, Steve, am not hearing any sound either.
Oh, some people can hear us and some people can't.
Yep, some have sound and some don't. Yes, I hear you. Okay. So, let me see who it was that said they didn't have sound.
There's a couple.
If you don't have sound, click out of it and get back into it. Well, they can't hear me say this.
Yeah. Refresh.
Put that in the comments. Refresh. So today it is super cold here. It froze overnight. And so Morgan and I have been working hard. We've been calling ourselves Patty Juniors.
Yeah, PJs.
We are learning all of the gardening things from Patty. She's the master gardener. She is still on her work hiatus, we'll call it. She was actually going to jump in last week and hang out with us.
But she thought Wednesday was Tuesday.
Yeah.
And on Wednesday, she was like, hey, are you guys live? And we're, yesterday.
Yeah, so it was Wednesday at noon. So you know how when you're on vacation, you're on vacation time, vacation mode.
Yeah.
So maybe she'll remember it's Tuesday.
Well, that's how you know it's a good vacation.
Yeah.
Is when you don't keep track of time.
What's going on. But so we had our gardens in it. We had a frost overnight. So we both put sheets and blankets and pillowcases over top.
Yes.
And then I just had a friend who I've also been talking about gardening with, deliver me some basil and some rosemary. So I'm super excited. I left these out so that we could smell them.
Yes, I love basil.
So good.
Yeah. I'm probably going to be, after work, going to get some more strawberries. I started my strawberry bed last night. And I got 4 strawberries because I didn't know how big I was going to make it. Then I was like, 1 strawberry plant only gives you like a quart of strawberries in a season. So I was like, I have to do more than 4.
I have some strawberries. I have some starts that we planted, and then I also have from seed. And the one from my start produced its first strawberry yesterday.
Yay!
So it's tiny and it's green and yellow, but
that's the best part is when you see the little sprout.
I know. Like I was super excited to post some pictures of it. So we have a couple of announcements.
Yes.
Last week on our YouTube channel, we released the basics to base coating. And this is a super important video because you have to know how to do that before you can stencil. And while we're talking about that, I wanted to show you guys the boo-boo that I made today. So I was base coating this surface today. Steve, tell me if I need to move it in a different way, or if you can or can't see it.
Kind of move it.
Yeah.
So
when I was base coating today, I made a rookie mistake, and I know it's something that we've all probably done. Shook up my bottle, and I poured it directly on my surface.
It seems like it's going to be quicker.
Okay. Yes, it does.
But
I didn't want to dirty my palette paper because I want to talk about palette paper today. So I just decided to put it on my surface and spread it. And now you can see the line on my surface from where I did that. And I have 2 coats of paint on here. So I don't know if I continue to paint, if it'll cover it up, but I wanted to leave it as it is because I wanted to show you this is why we don't do that. And this is why we use some form of a palette or palette paper so that we don't have the squiggly on our surface. This weekend on our YouTube channel, we're releasing 4 ways to make your projects perfect every time. And this is going to have some tips and tricks for beginners and people who have stenciled for a while. So it's
always nice to have a little refresher.
Yes, absolutely. And we've had a lot of people commenting on our video from last week, and even our live from last week, that even though they've been painting for a while and stenciling for a while, that they learned a lot of stuff.
Well, that's really good.
I know. Go us.
Look at us, little PJs.
Look at us, little Patty Juniors. 2 more things I want to talk about before we get started. They are important, I promise. So I shared a video the other day about our buckets. Ooh. So we have a variety of bucket sizes here in our studio. This is the bucket that we used to use all the time. And when you're painting a lot of projects, it can be great to have such a big bucket because you can fit all kinds of brushes in here. But the other day we ran into one of the polyfoam brushes was put down in this bucket, and as you can see, it can lay straight across here. And what happened when the water was in it, it was laying straight across, and the bottom of it was in the water, but the top of it wasn't. And so we cleaned it out and as best as we could, but the paint had already hardened. So I want you to hear right here.
ASMR.
Can you hear? Can you hear how hard that is? Like, this is rock solid. Yes. Okay. So it's rock solid. So this is not going to work. This one was in a smaller bucket and I can actually squish it and it moves. So I did want to show you the different size buckets we have so that this is something that you can keep your eye on, because we don't want you to have to keep buying these because they get ruined because they're not in the proper size bucket. The smaller the bucket is going to be better for, it not being able to lay over on its side. However, the smaller the bucket, the more you'll probably have to wash your brushes.
Yeah.
And I mean, maybe that's why
Which isn't a bad thing.
It's not a bad thing. This is why we have really small buckets now, because that's exactly why Patty bought the small buckets, because it was going to force us to wash our brushes and them not get yucky and stinky in here. And one more thing, we had someone ask about this the other day. We pulled this out when we were talking about cleaning brushes. This is for perler beads. So I had these growing up. Aria has these at our house right now, and you put your teeny tiny beads on here, and then you can put a piece of paper over it and use your iron on it, and it will kind of melt them together, and then you have a little design.
See, I feel like I used to was there one you could spray water on?
There might have been.
I think that's what I did.
Or it might have been like a spray glue water kind of
Yeah, something like that.
But this is really great. If you can't find a ceramic ginger grater, you can get these at all the big box stores in the kids' craft section. And with this, you are going to do it the same as you would your ginger grater. You are going to pull and then turn, pull and then turn, and keep doing that until all of the water is out of, or all of the paint is out of the brush. So your water will run clear. You can also kind of push away. However, we're not doing this. And you have to make that face when you do it. And we're not doing this.
The face of eek, don't do that.
Don't do it. So this is a pull. And so then you're just getting the sides and you're not actually getting the tip.
Yeah, I think last week we had somebody say something about keeping the shape of their dome brush. That is one way to destroy the shape of your dome brush.
Yes, that's one way that you're going to keep the shape of, there's 2 ways that you're going to keep the shape of your dome brush. Not applying a lot of pressure when you're stippling, which is kind of like a don't stipple. And second is how you clean it. So we have an announcement, a winner.
Yes, so our dome brush giveaway winner was Joyce Bird.
Joyce Bird. So a couple hours ago, I shared a thing and said, hey guys, like, share, and comment on this for a chance to win some dome brushes. And our friend Joyce did. And Joyce is our winner. And so Joyce, we will message you after the live and get your address and get your dome brushes sent out. All right, anything else? I think we're
about ready.
Let's talk tools. So we know you love the dome brushes. The dome brushes are all-time favorite tool for stenciling. However, today I wanted to talk to you about some of my favorite tools that I like to use on our projects, why we use them, when we use them, how we use them, and just show you some different things.
Yes.
So the first one we're going to start with is our palette paper. This is a sheet of Mylar that comes from when we cut our stencils, and it's something that we had a piece lying around, and we decided, you know what, we can't get the palette paper that we love, so we're going to try Mylar, and it has become one of our favorite tools because it's just like your stencils. It's reusable, it's washable.
And it is this is materials that we already have, and so just being able to reuse that is
agreed. And it's also great. So it's going to come around this size. Most of them are like 31 by 8 inches approximately, depending on where it comes from, what else we're cutting with it. And you can also use it as a large masker. So when we're painting tall porch signs, there's a lot of times that we will use it as a masker. There, if you have something that's, you just don't want to tape off. That's one of the things. A couple of things we're going to talk about today are we're just tired of taping stuff off. We just don't want to do it. We're refusing to do it. So this is the size that it typically comes in.
And you can get one piece of scrap Mylar today for free if you add it to the cart and use code Mylar23 with any purchase. So add whatever you want to your cart and then add your one piece of Mylar and use code Mylar23.
Yes, so you can get your free one. They come in a 1 piece, or you can also get a 5-piece set. And so what we do with ours is we just cut ours down to size depending on what we're going to be working on. So today I'm not going to use a ton of paint, so I'm not going to have a huge piece. Left-handed people should never be allowed to cut. It's the second time I've said that.
You're left-handed?
I'm left-handed.
I didn't know that.
Raise your hand in the comments if you are raise your left hand in the comments if you are left-handed. So fun fact, my dad, my mom, my brother, and myself were all left-handed.
That's crazy.
And I do everything left-handed except for bat with a baseball bat and golf, because nobody could teach me how to do it left-handed. So I had to learn how to do it right-handed if I was going to do it.
My mom's ambidextrous. Is that the word?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, when she was in school, they were trying to teach her to write with her right hand. But then, when she would go home, her mom was like, well, if you're comfortable with writing with your left hand, write with your left hand.
You do what you do.
And so she ended up learning both.
Now, and my brother was that way growing up too, but he would write with his left hand to the middle of the paper, switch the pencil, and write with his right hand. So now he is left-handed. But so fun fact, I'm left-handed. With our palette paper, we just like to tape it down to the surface so it doesn't move, it doesn't go anywhere. So our palette paper is the first thing let's talk about. The second thing we're going to want to talk about today, let's talk about our click eraser. This is super important because this is how you can fix mistakes on your projects. We have a ton of videos on fixing mistakes because it's probably one of the most things we're asked about, because we know that when you're stenciling, a lot of times people have found us because they're going to YouTube and they're like, oh my gosh, what do? I bled under. And so you might have found us through fixing stenciling mistakes. So let's show you how this guy works. I have one of our word stencils. Just grabbed some random stencils today so I could show you some different things. I'm going to take the word stencil down, and since we are painting Christmas for this portion, I'm going to use our paint color 18. If you do not have one of our paint color guides, that is, I forgot to talk about the sale today. We talked about our free thing. You guys, we're having a tool sale. So the things that I'm talking about today are on sale. But you're going to have to run and grab them because people have been taking advantage of the sale. They found out about it in the newsletter at 6:30 this morning. And a couple of the things in our sale have been flying off the shelves, and numbers are limited. So I'm not telling you to leave our live, but I'm telling you you're going to want to shop.
Yeah.
Fast.
And if you're not on the newsletter, that's the place to be if you want to be the first to know about sales.
Because it is nice to learn about it on the live, but you could have learned about it
and then you don't have to leave the live
6 hours ago. Exactly. Okay, so I poured out entirely too much paint. I'm just gonna preface that right here, right now, that if you're just using a little bit of paint, you do not need to pour out nearly as much as I did. So I'm going to show you a couple of things with this stencil. All I want to paint today is Old Saint Nick. So there's a lot of stuff going on around it. I'm going to be stubborn, and I am going to say, I don't need to tape off and I don't need to use a masker because I have a really good hand and a really good eye and I know what I'm doing. And look, I just painted in the snowflake. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna quit being stubborn. What do I do? So first of all, if you are painting something small, you are going to want to use one of the smaller brushes. We often get asked, when would you use a small brush? We had someone message us the other day and said, okay, I bought brushes and I think I bought the wrong sizes because they're really small and I don't know what to do with them. The 5/8 is one that we love the best. We use it on almost every project. However, on something like this, if you are just wanting to paint one small word, if you're painting cards or bookmarks or for scrapbooking, this is when you pull out your small brushes because you will have more control over it, and then the chance of ghosting, which is what we did there, is reduced. So I'm gonna plop this in here. I'm gonna pull this off, and this is what we call ghosting. So the A on fa la 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 and the snowflake were both painted and they weren't supposed to be. So what do? You're going to grab our eraser, which is PVC? Yep. PVC. Yes. So when you go dry to your project, it does nothing. But when you add water to it, we're gonna dip it in our water bucket. I'm just gonna come over here so it's not filled with water. And I'm gonna scooch it back a little and come to our project. And I will say that I probably made a bad mistake by painting red here. I think that we've talked about before that red is one of the hardest colors to erase. However, guys, look at that. Gonzo. You Ta-da! Can't even see it. Ta-da! So today's show's all about magic. And we're gonna come down here and we're gonna erase the A. And guys, look how clean that is. So there are some things you wanna know. You have to use water. The material is important too. We have this one and we also have another teeny tiny circle one that is part of today's sale. And it is,
micro eraser?
The micro eraser. I don't think I have one of those in, I don't think I have one of those in here, but I do, this is a rectangle one. The rectangle one's not in today's sale because we do not have very many of them. But this is going to be the size of the circle one, and it is really good for getting really teeny tiny details.
They want to know if they can see it closer. If, hold the...
Yeah. Erasing it or just the project itself?
I think just the project itself, just to see where it came off.
To see where it came off. Here, let me put it in for Steve here. So there were 2 spots of red. Now there are 0 spots of red. Today is a very sing-songy episode. I hope you're enjoying our sing-songs. Can you see? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So that is why we love the click eraser. Now I'm going to go into something else with this. So we talked about brush size. We talked about the eraser. How could we have prevented this in the first place? Brush size, or you can use your tape or your multi-masker. So the multi-masker is in today's sale. I think it's marked down like 70% off.
You're definitely gonna grab one of these,
or
especially
5.
after Kari shows you what all it can
or
do.
5.
Yeah.
Because they're so important. So I'm going to find something that's not white.
And this is a tool that we actually created.
Yes,
in-house.
this came. Oh, I'm gonna grab this mat over here. Stand by.
So Patty was wasn't she using like scrap mylar and stuff to cover?
Yeah. So for years we just used tape, and then we have a banding tool that has all kinds of band stripes for round. And with that banding tool, we have a teeny tiny little circle that comes with it.
Yes.
And she picked it up one day and started using it, and then decided, oh my gosh, why are we not doing
why
this?
can we not make this?
So she told Dustin, I want a design with every single shape that you can possibly think of, and he delivered. You have your big nose here, you have your little mouth, there's squares, there's circles, there's straight edges. It even has a little ruler on the bottom of it. So you can literally put this on any project and mask any shape that you can find. Like this goes perfect with the bottom of that C and covers up the snowflake. So this is another way that I could have done this without bleeding under or ghosting. And so with this, if you are going to be painting Christmas cards and you know that you are going to paint 37 Christmas cards because you are really popular and have a lot of friends, you can grab a bunch of these. So you could grab 3, maybe even 4,
and then
tape
just
them
stack
down
around
to your project, and then you don't have to worry about it at all.
That's
and
pretty
then
cool.
you can just move your stencil from card to card to card and not have to worry about masking off or moving it around as you go.
Guess what? Patty's with us.
Patty's with us. Hey, Patty. I hope you're proud.
She said, she commented and said, "Sing it, Kari."
Someone has to keep up the joy in here when you're gone, Patty. We miss you and we can't wait till you're back. I cannot wait to be sitting over there next week.
And I'll be at lunch.
And Morgan's like, and I can't wait to go to lunch. Okay, so we've talked about palette paper. We've talked about the eraser. We've talked about the masker. Now I want to talk to you guys about a couple of applicators. So another random stencil I grabbed today is this ginormous Christmas stencil. And we have this in several sizes. And I want to show you painting with a jumbo dauber and the difference between painting with a jumbo dauber and painting with a dome brush when you have a really big open space. So we're going to reuse our tape because we love to reuse things here. And I taped through this portion of the stencil because I know I'm only going here and I'm going to tape here. So I'm still taping in 2 places even though my stencil is off the edge. I'm going to put out not nearly as much paint as I did last time. I'm actually going to use 52 for a portion of my bell. And then I'm going to use 33 for another portion, and I'm going to show you why. So this is our jumbo dauber. It is a round sponge, and it has a place for your fingers in the back of it, and it has a little plastic thing here for you to hold on to. You dip it in your paint, you get paint on your sponge, you still come over and offload, and then you go to your project. And then you just tap, tap, tap all the way around everything that you want painted. If you are painting something like the words, do not use this. This is really great for big areas because it is going to help give you a more even coverage when you are doing your tapping.
We have a question that would a sponge work the same way as daubers? We're actually talking about sponges later, but they are a little different.
Yes, yes, so I can actually go ahead and talk about sponges now. And Morgan is going to share a video with you guys. We have a video about sponges.
Yes.
So, you know what? Let's test this out. I'm going to pull this off and I will just test right here. Patty uses sponges a lot when she is doing shading and highlighting, which is something I don't do, so I don't use sponges a lot. But one thing we do use sponges a lot for is varnishing. And we actually have this sponge in our varnish. This is in our paste finishing wax, and this is how we protect a lot of our projects. It just stays in there, it lives in there.
Sponges are also fun to use to do like fun little background techniques, or like I know that we've painted clouds and stuff with our seafoam sponges and just little things like that. So I've mainly used them for technique-y things. I've not stenciled with them a whole lot.
So don't let the color deceive you. I accidentally painted. I used 52 on my first one and 33 on my second one. It is doing about the same thing.
Yeah.
So yes, you could use a sponge. Patty, if you're still on here, help us sister out. One thing that I do like about the Jumbo Dauber and the ink sweeper, which we're going to talk about next, is that with this sponge, it has a lot of holes in it. And the ink sweeper and the Jumbo Dauber don't. So you will have to saturate a regular sponge if it has holes in it a little more so that you can get a more even coverage because of those holes. So you might find yourself with some holes in the paint, or it might have not gone on evenly.
I feel like you have better control with the Dauber too. Because
yes, the density.
Dauber's a high density.
Yes, the Dauber is high density. Density matters. Let's quote that for Steve. Density matters.
We also recommend these Daubers for our 3D stacked projects.
Absolutely. These and the ink sweepers are great for those because with the stacked signs, and when you're painting anything that is thin and delicate and cut, there's a chance it's going to break. And I know that we've talked about this before. I will throw myself under the bus that when I first started painting here, I just started using dome brushes on everything because I didn't know about these yet. And when I did, I broke so many word cutouts and stacked things because I was holding it and I was trying to paint and I was trying not to get it on the edges and crack. So then once I found out I could use these instead, then it helped. So take a look at how clean that is and how quickly we were able to apply. So I'm kind of regretting the small bucket today because I did not plan on using as many applicators as what we are using. But I also want to come over here and show. Now, one thing you can see is I was not being very careful with this, and the paint did bleed under here. So with these small lines, you might want to hold them down, or you might want to use the stick and restick on the back of it, which we always recommend if you are doing some stripes.
Patty agreed that the big sponge is harder to control. So
go, Steve. All right, so we're going to come back here, and I'm going to tape this down again, and I'm going to show you the difference in the Dauber and how long it took compared to how long it takes if I would do this with a dome brush. So if you have any questions, now is the time to ask. I'm using 52 on this again.
Is there any particular sponge that we use for varnishing, or just any, really any big sponge?
Yeah, the sponge that I just used to paint, we actually have listed on our website as a paint and varnish sponge.
Gotcha.
And so
I'll grab that link for you.
Yep, that is the one that we like for that. So if we're coming in here and we are swirling, can you already see the difference in coverage from when I swirled versus when I used the Dauber? This is what we want swirling to look like. It is really light and it's really dusty. However, when you are trying to cover a very large area, then it might take you a while to do that. Another reason we love our multi-maskers is because if you wanted to paint this a different color, you'd put on your coat, and then once you're done with that, you can go along and paint the line a different color using your multi-masker along the way so that you can make that really bright and pretty.
So if you guys have any questions about any of the tools we've talked about, a lot of people are just showing their love for everything.
Yay.
We have a lot of love for the multi-masker.
Yes.
A lot of love for the Daubers. We have a lot of people that have purchased some dome brushes recently and some Daubers recently, and the multi-masker too.
Yes, and dome brushes are in stock.
Yes.
We do have dome brushes right now. We know that that is one of the favorite tools. They are not part of today's sale, but we've been selling a lot of them lately. We see all the sales that come through and kind of keep track of what's popular at the time, and they've been a hot item, as they always are. So I did 2 passes with the yellow with the jumbo dauber, and I did 2 passes with the yellow with the dome brush. And you can definitely tell that for coverage, the jumbo dauber works best. However, you do have to be careful with your offloading, with holding down your stencil, and that's going to be any time. I was probably a little aggressive, which I tend to be. I get excited, guys. Yeah. I get excited, but
well, it's just like with our dome brushes, you know, like you can't have a lot of paint on them. You do the same offloading process like Kari told you, and you just gotta watch and be careful. But
guess what? We can go in here. I'm not gonna go in there because the one that I did with the regular sponge is still a little wet. So we can go in here now and clean this up. I'm not gonna clean up all of it, but we can go around, and we know we don't want this in here, and then we can just use our water. Now with the eraser, you're only gonna have about 5 minutes before that paint sets that you can fix these mistakes. So that is something you want to keep in mind. That is a good reason to peek. I never liked to peek because I never thought that I could get my stencil back on straight, and I am a recovering perfectionist. And I'm saying recovering because now I can peek. So you can peek to make sure that you're not making a mess. And there we go. And so that's cleaning up a little bit for us. And then you can also use a round brush if you want to clean up a little bit more.
Yeah, and a lot of the times, like being a perfectionist, you think like you have to get all the little things. If you just have like a teeny tiny little thing, it's not anything to worry about. And most of the time, the click eraser can take care of it.
And come through here, do a little sanding, make it look a little rustic. You can dig into a place that you aren't happy with, and there you go. There's a lot of learning curves with stenciling. I had someone send an email to me the other day, and they showed me their project, and they were painting, I think, on a piece of furniture, and it was similar to this color, and they painted some leaves and birds, and they painted it a blue, and it didn't really pop. But the first thing she said was, I'm new and my stenciling doesn't look great. There was not a single bleed or anything. I was like, time out. You are being way too hard on yourself. There's not a single thing bleeding here.
Yeah. So you definitely pick your battles.
Yes.
I think. Yeah. You know, because I mean, you want your project to look good, but you are going to be the person that sees the most faults in your project.
Yeah, absolutely.
So just knowing.
That's a good point. So now we're going to talk about our ink sweeper. So our ink sweeper is another dense sponge but this one, whereas the jumbo dauber is round, the ink sweeper is long, and this is one of our favorites. So if you're doing something with big open spaces, the jumbo dauber is great because it's going to cover a lot of area. However, what we like about the ink sweeper is it is the bomb.com for painting stripes. Yes. Because if you try to paint stripes with a brush and you are swirling, and it's kind of like with this as well, you are going to potentially move those stripes. We never paint stripes, which I'm going to today, but we never paint stripes without putting an adhesive on the back.
Yeah.
Because that is what will help prevent the stencil from moving. On the projects I paint for my house, I always put adhesive on the back. But for today, and I want to show you why it's so important to put adhesive on. So we will get our stripe taped down. And this is another instance where a multi-masker can come in handy, because if you would want to paint these stripes different colors, then you could run your multi-masker along here. You could tape a couple of them down, and then you don't even have to deal with it. So I'm going to go into number 47 for our blue. Put a little bit out. Finally getting the amount I probably should have gotten all day. And coming in, I kind of hate to use this. I told Steve it's brand new, and I hate to use a brand new sponge. So I'm just putting a little bit of it on here. What's great about the ink sweeper is it is long, but you can really be specific about how much control you have with your paint, because I'm only putting it in a really small spot. Now, one thing I noticed when I offloaded, there was a little bit over here on the edge that was really wet and goopy. So I just offloaded a little bit to the side to get that off so that when I squeeze down, that doesn't bleed. So with your ink sweeper, you are just going to go a little bit at a time all the way down your stripe. You can also do it and put paint all along here and come this way, and then it won't take you hardly any time at all. But it's just a really safe way to paint stripes without pulling and pushing your stencils. This is also how we apply the repositionable adhesive, is with the ink sweepers. We put it on the ink sweeper and we go along the back of the stencil and cover everything that we want. Let it dry until it's clear, so it comes out white from the container. We let it dry until it's clear, and then we will apply it with this, and then you can use your gold foil. So we pull this back, and ta-da, we have perfect stripes without bleed under because we're using a really awesome applicator. All right, do we have any questions? I just have, we're almost wrapping up. I have one more thing to talk about, and we've already talked about our sponges. Oh, I have two more things to talk about.
We do have a question about what type of paint we use. We just use the we have our paint number chart I'll share with you guys. But we just use Sherwin-Williams.
Yep, we still use Deco Art for quite a bit of things depending on the project. So Patty painted the stepping stone and used patio paint for that. So we use the Deco Art line for that project. However, we paint in bulk. Like we do this Deco Arts are small. We paint in bulk. So we have a boutique, and in our boutique you can come in and pick a project off the wall and paint. And we have private parties, bachelorette parties, birthday parties, all of those things. And there's no way we could have kept buying the teeny tiny bottles to go through that. So instead, we use these sample size bottles from Sherwin-Williams. And if you have not seen these before, message me on our StudioR12 Facebook, and I can send you what the label looks like. It's like a color to go sample. And it is indoor, outdoor house paint, and it works phenomenally. And then, as Morgan said, you can get our paint color guide. That's why I've been yelling out numbers like 18, 52. We're not crazy. We're not calling out football plays.
With the ink sweeper, you said using it for the stick and restick. Does the stick wash out, or
yes, it does. We actually used to mark them when we would put the stick. We would put sticky on it and only use that, and then we may or may not have gotten lazy and just grabbed one, and then we realized that using the stick and restick and using the paint, it all came out the same way. Now, when you are washing those, so 2 notes. One, when I put both of these sponges in the water bucket, it's going to be very similar to the foam brush that we were talking about earlier. It's going to want to flip on its side. So when we put it in the bucket, we put a brush in it upside down and push it down, and that will weigh it down. When you wash these out, you never use soap, or you'll never be able to get it out. We run it underwater, and we literally just push it, squeeze out all the paint, and until it runs dry. And then over time, it's going to be like your brush. Once you use your brush a lot, you will have a little color residue. Your sponges are going to be the same way, but it's not going to affect your future projects. All right, so next let's talk about our T-square. So this is a stencil ruler, or a crafting ruler that is going to be great for your project. So this one is 18 inches. We have two. We have a 12-inch and an 18-inch, but the 18-inch is what is on sale today. This is really wonderful for helping you make straight lines on your projects, or to mark off an area, to measure an area. So this is a 12-inch board. If I want to know where 6 inches is, I can get a pencil and I can mark here. I can go this way and get a pencil and mark here. So it's a way that you can find a center point, or it's a way that you can go from end to end. It's really popular right now to have a diagonal stripe regardless of your surface shape. So a lot of people, I saw on a porch sign that someone did a diagonal stripe, and it wasn't all the way through, it was about 3/4 the way down, and they painted a pattern on top and a solid color on bottom, and then they painted their project over top of it, and it's just a really cool look right now. So diagonal stripes can be easy with this, and it's just something really nice to have when you are looking to get a straight edge. And I'm trying to think, we use this for something, painting stripes maybe. I can't remember what we use it for. I will have to share
Definitely
it later.
good when you're a perfectionist,
Yes,
like we were talking about
yes.
earlier. If you want to get everything lined up correctly, measure things
Yeah.
out, especially if you're using different stencils. So if you want to put this stencil with this stencil, just measuring
where they need to be. Yeah. When we first started using rounds, which is a great segue into the next one. When we first started using rounds, we were using our T-square, and we were using it a lot to try to find center and find different points. And I want this to be 1 inch thick, and we were doing all the things with it. And then, as Patty does, just like with this bad boy, Patty dreamed up our circle striping tool. So we just released this very recently, and it looks crazy. However, this is not the craziest it has looked. It actually looked a lot crazier when we were starting and trying to figure out what we wanted to do with this. So let me come here. I'm trying to see what size this is. I think that looks about there. This is just a little over 17 inches with the circle striping tool. So if you guys can pop it up from overhead so I can show them point out some different things for it. I'm going to use my pencil here. Right in the middle here we have a center dot. So this is going to help you find center regardless of what surface you are on. This is also going to tell you what size surface you have. So this one is a little under 18 inches. I have it lined up all the way around. One thing that you're going to notice is that this is going to be bigger than most of your surfaces. The biggest surface we sell is an 18-inch round, so that's why we made this an 18-inch. But you can put something underneath it to boost it up if you have another one of these surfaces. That way it lays flat. We always recommend that when you have something that's hanging over the edge. So we have our center. You also have your lines. So we have little hash marks here. And these hash marks can help you make a straight line vertically or a straight line horizontally. And then it also starts if you are going to make a diagonal line. So you can
45 degrees.
Yep. So you can come to your 45 degree, your diagonal line here, and then that's when the dots come into play. So you can finish with dots. You can draw your lines, and then you can go back and use your T-square to actually draw that straight line that you just dotted off. But then we have dots that mark off 1 inch at a time. So if you're looking here and you want a line like this, this is what we used for our prepping of our round flag door hanger. So we use the dots here and the dots here to help make this straight line and cordon off this area. And then we use the dots to equally mark where we wanted our stripes to be on this project. And then along with the dots, we also have some curved spaces. The curved spaces on the top right are marked from 4 inches all the way up to 18 inches. So if you aren't sure what size your surface is, you can put this on there and you can see what size your surface is and know for future. Or you can use this. Say I wanted an 8-inch circle right in the middle. I can come here and I can mark off 8 inches. And then I can use my center point here and turn this little guy here and mark it here. We also have banding tools, which are really great for this.
Yeah.
But this is a good way that you can at least mark where you would want your 8 inches to be. And then if you're not sure if you have an 8-inch banding tool, you'll be able to line it up and say, oh, I actually do have an 8-inch banding tool. So this will help you if you're wanting to make a circle inside of a circle.
I think that's really beneficial for, I think the round projects are getting really popular. Making round door hangers. We've made Lazy Susans out of it. I think that round is in right now.
Much so
having a tool to understand how to do all the fun creative things with it is great.
Yeah, agreed. And then we also have a couple tape squares. So with it being bigger than your project, you can't tape off the edge of your stencil off the edge of your surface. So that's why we added these tape squares so that you can tape it down to your surface and then it's not going to wiggle anywhere. So this is our circle striping tool. We do have a couple videos on it because we know that it looks absolutely crazy.
Elizabeth told us that we have used our T-square to make the planks.
Oh yeah,
that's what it was.
Yes, that's what it was. I was trying to think. I know, like, I was seeing it in my head. We did a video on 3 ways to do something, and I couldn't remember. Yes, it was planks. Thank you, Elizabeth. I'm going to message you. You are going to get a prize for helping me with my memory loss. You know, once we have 300 videos now.
So many.
Once you're over like 3 videos, it's hard to remember. And now we're at 300.
I don't know. Steve probably remembers every single video.
all the ones that, since Steve has started and been doing videos, he can really
all like 4 or 5 times.
Yes.
We're getting so much love right now. Everyone's
Yay,
just talking
thank you
about
guys.
how beneficial all of our tools are, how StudioR12 has enhanced their stenciling.
Oh, yay.
So
wonderful.
All good things.
All right. Well, I think that covers all of Kari's favorite tools. And you have the link, shop the sale. The tools don't go on sale very often.
Yeah. I'll actually share that link again because I shared it towards the beginning, but I'm going to share it again just so you guys can easily click on it as we hop off here. Like Kari said, you want to make sure you grab them because they do not go on sale very often.
They don't go on sale very often, and sometimes, supply chain issues. It's 2023, but supply chain issues are still something that we run into with certain products. So I have already made our ordering department aware. Hey, I'm doing a tool sale. Just keep your eye on stock because if we get low, we need to go ahead and order again. So.
Yeah. All right, guys.
All right, well, I think that's it. Be sure to tune in Saturday to our YouTube channel to see the 4 ways to paint a perfect project every time and learn some basics and some tips.
Have a great day and week, and if you're gardeners, happy gardening.
Happy gardening. See you guys.
Bye.